Why on earth did I pick the sad, depressing playlist? This is supposed to be the hype playlist, you know. Hello, everybody! Welcome. This is another wonderful fellowship stream with your boy Will. I am joined today by the wonderful Robbie from Major League Hacking. Hey, Robbie, how is it going?
Hello, Will. I'm doing very well, thank you. How are you on this fine afternoon?
I am doing pretty damn well, apart from realizing that I can't write code. But today, hopefully, Robbie is going to teach me a little bit about code, both during and after the live stream. Little does he realize I'm going to keep him around to actually help me with code. But welcome, everybody. My name is Will, and I'm a program manager here at the MLH Fellowship, and I'm joined by Robbie, who does a number of things. You're involved mostly with missions, but you do other things outside of Major League Hacking in the community as well.
I do, full-time. I'm a consultant at AWS, hence the shirt. I've been on customer calls all day. But I've been with MLH for a good couple of years now. Been part of the fellowship really since it started. Reviewed 2,500 applications, and been writing bad code for nearly a decade now. So probably longer, to be honest. Probably longer.
Wow. How long have I been writing bad code for? I've been writing bad code since I was about 15. I'm 21 now, but especially bad code in the last couple of years. Any future employers, if you're hearing, it just gets worse. Any future employers who, for whatever reason, decide to hire me for writing code, don't listen to this. I'm an expert, I promise. My CV is not a lie, I promise.
The point is, right, everybody starts somewhere. Exactly. While you're saying that, I realized I was 10 when I first started learning to code, and that was 13 years ago, which is horrible.
I didn't even know what a for loop was when I was 10. And it's just magic.
That's because I'm so much older than you, at least a year. Nearly two.
So, there's a good joke for you all here. Robbie is, I don't know, what, you're 24 now, as of the other day? 23, as of the other day, yeah. Oh, you're only 23.
I'm only 23. I'm not that old.
You're 2 years older than me, and yet you always claim that you're this, dinosaur of a human. You've been around for decades.
Wisdom, everything.
I know. I thought you were you're literally only 1 year out of uni older than me. You're not. 2 years.
True.
Sorry, but anyway. So basically, today is an opportunity for me and Robbie to go through some of our code, cringe at some of the things that we did back then, and see if we can. Improve it. We're not actually going to write any code because, goodness gracious, trying to write live code is not something I want to do.
Let's not go there.
However, a few weeks ago, Robbie redid his personal website and he did screen share the whole thing for me, and I did sit there and roast him the entire time. It was very amusing. But yeah, we'll go through it. Maybe we'll point some tips on how we've improved and what we've learned from then to now. And then we'll do a bit of Q&A. I can see already people in the chat are asking for some of the fellowship bots. I feel like people are implying the fellowship bots aren't well written. They are open source for a reason.
It's a personal attack, that will.
Exactly. Now, Robbie, throw me back. So you said you started writing code when you were 10 years old, a whole 23 years ago. Hang on a second.
Dude.
Will's maths has gone out the window. A whole 13 years ago. Yeah. Now, what was it? What was your first ever coding project?
First thing I built, when I first started learning to code, Club Penguin was all the rage, right? You remember Club Penguin, Will? You're not that young.
Hold up. I'm not that old. No, it was I did enjoy the Club Penguin life. I used to play Club Penguin a lot on a little EPC, exactly. Those 11-inch laptop screens, remember? Those tiny little things.
Good stuff. So yeah, I was super into my Club Penguin. I actually ran a website, thebestclubpenguincheats.com, which is surprisingly successful across its lifespan. It got about 700,000 hits, which is pretty awesome. If only I'd learned how to monetize it.
From day one.
I got into writing trainers and cheap programs and stuff for it, and I wrote a pretty successful one called Penguin Storm, followed by Penguin Impact, written in Visual Basic 6, which even in 2008 was an old, outdated language.
What version is Visual Basic? I mean, Visual Basic is an old language. It's one that often people learn, and it's good to get into. It teaches you the fundamentals, but you move on very quickly because it's difficult to do useful things with it. Unless you're an Excel wizard.
Exactly. And it wasn't even VB.NET, slightly more modern stuff. This was old. It was a single exe file was the entire IDE, right? You didn't need to install anything. It was sketchy, and the code was dreadful. I didn't know how to do arrays. modules or classes or anything like that. It's just one massive file. It's about 10,000 lines in.
Oh wait, people are supposed to know how to use arrays now? Oh, that's news to me.
Oh man, yeah, it was. I wish I could find that code. I don't think I ever got that anymore. But that's how I first started, and then doing loads of web dev and stuff as well. Writing WordPress sites and that kind of thing.
I feel like everyone gets into web dev and then they don't leave it. I've been getting into web dev recently for my university project, and boy, do I hate JavaScript. I'm like, oh, the Python backend is beautiful. I'm really enjoying writing that. Hell yeah.
Dude.
And then I'm like writing JavaScript, and I'm like, why is there like 10 ways to do the same thing? Like, why?
Web dev is easy now, right? When I was learning web dev, you had to have like code to load different style sheets depending on the browser, or depending on the user agent, right? If it's IE8, load this style sheet. If it's IE9, load this one. If it's Firefox,
it's okay because everything's now Chrome.
Everything is now Chrome.
And if you're not Chrome, then I'm sorry. So poor Safari users sat there like, well.
I use Firefox. Firefox is like 3% of the market share. Fighting. Yeah.
I switched between Safari, Chrome, and I've been using Edge, dabbling in Edge a little bit, Yeah, so interesting. Yeah, I actually quite like it, but I quite like the Google integration into Chrome. But that's because I don't like Google like using it all the time, but it's kind of like it's useful.
You kind of have to, right?
Yeah, exactly. So interesting project, Robbie. Interesting project. Now. We're gonna throw back. I used to write. So I had a few courseworks when I was like 15, which were just like C# applications. We got taught how to like do like the Windows one, so you could actually do cool things. With, like, oh wow, look, I clicked a button and a text.
That's such a good feeling, right?
Yeah, right.
The first time you get it working, oh, that's awesome.
You're like, well, I'm actually a professional now. You're like, I'm making the same things as all these developers. I can just like quit school and become rich. It's not quite how it works, but yeah, we did a couple courseworks on that, which was quite interesting. I had no idea what was really going on in the C# code, apart from I was able to like write C# code that was like not just in a terminal, like felt cool. And then A-levels came around. So for those of you not in the UK, A-levels are a thing you do. Some people decide to do when they're between 16 to 18. It's like if you want to go to university, it's normally a thing that you do. There's other routes nowadays, but it's like a very standard thing that people would do after they finish their GCSEs at the age of 16 or whatever you do in other countries. And I did computer science as one of my options, and we had to do a project, which annoyingly, I wrote, I've actually been going into schools recently for university, and the students are doing the exact same module, like exam board and coursework. So I'm having like a mad throwback, like, oh, I remember doing this. And they're like, oh, the spec makes no sense. I'm like, I feel you. It made no sense 3 years ago. It still doesn't make any sense now. But yeah, we had to do a 20% coursework, which I ended up writing. I want to say it was like 75,000 words and 130 pages. For 20% of the whole thing, not worth my time, but not worth anyone's time. And I'm telling the students this in the school. I'm like, focus on your exam. Trust me, you're not going to focus on it, and then it will come around and it will, bite you because you spent so much time on this tiny little percentage. But yeah, I wrote this dragon bone balancer that was help you. The idea was that it would help you basically work out the best place to put different weights of people and different strengths and stuff. Some people were built, some people like myself 3 years ago used to be built because of muscle. Nowadays it's less so, thanks quarantine. And so, depending on their strength is when you put them in the boat and so on, and you want, and it's quite complicated. And so I started off thinking, oh, this is going to be a piece of cake. I'm just sorting out a bunch of stuff. I could probably do this in a spreadsheet if I really wanted. After Googling and having not much luck balancing the Dragon Boat, I realised the problem was NP hard. And for those of you who don't know what NP hard means, it basically means that good luck, have fun. Robbie, have you encountered NP hard? Well, could you give the audience maybe a quick explanation of why I struggled?
Why I struggled? I mean, look, to go back a level here, right? If you think back to you did computer science A level. Did you do computer science GCSE?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Yeah. So back in my day, when I was a young man, when I was your age, computer science A level, computer science GCSE was not offered at my school. So I didn't get any formal computer science education until I went to university. At which point, even just being in a lecture where they teach you like introduction to Java was kind of mind blowing to me. To be in a room full of people other people who were also interested in learning how to code. As just something I'd never come across until university. And also university, I did a mix of computer science modules and maths modules. I missed a lot of the fundamentals on the computer science stuff because I was doing maths things. So your question about NP hard is surprisingly challenging for me to answer. Well, but I think you kind of hit the nail on the head with, good luck, have fun.
Basically it's like, unless you have the world's most powerful computer, and even then, good luck, have fun, you're probably not going to be able to work out the solution, because there's so many possible solutions. It's the very, very high level kind of answer to it, which is frustrating because I just wanted to have a good time, I just wanted to make a quick...
You have this idea, right, of this cool thing you want to build for your project, and then you discover it's actually impossible, and you kind of get it.
Yeah, exactly. I ended up just making something that was... I basically made a... What do you call it? What's the word for something that's like doesn't work out the best solution, but like pretty much like it kind of just like cuts corners to get there.
I'd say it's possible, right? Like it's an MVP.
I can't remember what the word is, but basically I made an algorithm that like just sort of just did the bare minimum of our calculation so it could get a good enough result. Maybe not the best, but like a pretty good result. Recently our friend Aaron tried running it because it's on GitHub and the EXE's on there if you want to download it, and he crashed it like immediately. So thanks, Aaron.
I'm looking actually at GitHub here at the minute. For those of us who aren't keen sailors, what is a dragon boat? I'm picturing a boat with like a dragon like figurehead, right?
Yeah, so my ex-girlfriend was big into this, and so I obviously had to like sit down with her dad and was like, right, I need to get some requirements because I really have no idea. I'm being asked to write a project here about dragon boats, and yet I don't really understand what a dragon boat is. So, what we're gonna do is your boy Will is gonna get up a dragon boat. They're basically like, how do I put it? Here we go.
Find a picture.
Yeah, here you go. They're like rowboats, sort of. And I actually did this like once in my local town, and I tried it. It's actually really intense, but yeah, it's kind of like fancy rowing. I'd probably get shot for saying that, but yeah, it's kind of a fun sport, and there's quite a lot of like good vibes around it. But yeah, the idea was, it's like, how do you work out where to put these 20 people on the boat? That means this boat will be at its optimal speed and won't try and steer off to the left or the right or whatever.
So you put in things like people's weight and stuff like that, and it tries and balances it, right?
Yeah, it was like their weight, and probably not a very good benchmark these days, but like female, because men like biologically tend to be built a little better, but like in this day and age, like that's a bit of an, there's a lot of up to the debate there. It probably would change the way you do it, but it's like I wanted to have a way of being able to define like if they were strong or not without basically calling them fat, and their weight, and then their preferred arm. So if they were like a right side kind of person, I'd try and put them on the right side, or try and put them on the left side. It really depended on what their preference was, really. But yeah, that's what a dragon boat looks like.
Awesome, thank you for sharing. Have you got some code we can rip to shreds?
So yeah, I'll go. I guess I'll go first. Great,
thanks
for that. I'm so excited for this.
Dude.
Okay, so on GitHub it is public, so feel free to roast me in the issues. I wrote this, and now I didn't understand what a Git Ignore was at the time, and so I thought, I can't upload the whole project. There's lots of build files in here that surely they change every time. Surely you don't want to put those in Git. And so instead I just copied every single file from like the source folder. File structure just gone. Good luck trying to run this. And copied it in.
You did the classic, grab all the files, upload them to GitHub in a single commit. Files pushed.
Yeah, I did. So I was reading, actually. This is an interesting thing, right? So, what's it with the sad music? Let me...
Your code is just so depressing, Will. Like,
it is.
Just bringing the mood
off to a great start. Yeah, I remember I had a laptop and a desktop, and I only used the laptop. It wasn't very fast. It was pretty rubbish. I only used it when I was going to my dad's house and at sixth form. So I used to do it all on my desktop. But obviously I wanted to sync code between the two, and Google Drive was very unhappy about the .vs, like the .visual studio files and stuff. Didn't really understand at the time why. I kind of get it now. Because it's like .file, there's probably lots of things in here I probably don't want to sync. Developers are no. So yeah, yeah, I read about this thing called GitHub online. I was like, I made an account. So if you look back, I made my account like while I was doing the coursework, and then I was like, what on earth does any of this mean? Screw this. I'm just gonna use a memory stick and just like after school.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, so yeah, you know, the thought was there about using GitHub. I wish I had. It would have made my life so much easier. But look at that flex, 64 out of 70. I don't know how it got 64 out of 70. Let's jump into this code. So this is a C# app. It looks a bit like Java, but the first thing I'm going to mention is the fact that it is 700 lines long, and every single line is commented because my teacher told me I'd get more marks doing that. In reality, like in the real world, this is like, oh, I didn't do it for every line, but like, yeah, look at here. It's like, I think I can understand that first name equals first name value. It's setting first name to the value. Like
you could definitely over document, right? The goal is to write self-documenting code. Your code should be readable without you having to describe
like
every
if
single thing.
I should be able to read the variable and be able to go, oh, I can work out what the variable, like, oh, this variable is representing the weight, and I'm making a new paddler class. That makes sense. Your GitHub looks very green. What do you mean?
Green.
Oh, that's because there's a Git book attached to it, and I write documentation for the fellowship. That's why it's so
like
green.
all the commits and stuff.
It's not because I write any code. So we'll start from the top. So we got this like main function, which is like the constructor. At the time, I didn't understand constructors, so it's a miracle that it worked.
Can we jump back a level here? So you're using namespaces. Awesome. I'm looking at line 9 here.
You think I made those namespaces? These are all auto-generated. I still don't entirely understand namespaces.
At some point, somebody typed that in because the spelling of coursework there is interesting. Well,
oh my god! Wow,
good job, dude.
Wow, that's impressive. That is impressive. Wow.
You submitted this. That's why you're in 64.
Yeah, they noticed my spelling errors. Wow. What do I even say to that? Great, thanks for...
Good job. Sorry, yeah, anyway, carry on with your explanation.
Robbie is like the guy who spots out all my grammar. Oh.
Yep. So what, were you talking about your constructor?
Oh, so yeah, I had all these static things so I could make them go in between my classes because I didn't really... I mean, that's not a terribly wrong thing to do, to be honest. In this day and age, I'd probably still do a fairly similar thing. At the time, I thought, oh no, setting things to static is bad. No, I think everything's static. Yeah. And then we got this constructor here. That was just auto-generated. No idea how I made that work. Oh, there you go. A lot of this was auto-generated because it had like a drag and drop UI thing, so it would like put the code in for you. I know it. Console.WriteLine, the print statement of the century. That just so this imports the data. It opens a file dialog. Look how this is actually quite clean code. Apart from
this is not bad, right?
To be honest, at the time though, before I went to university, I was a big fan of the whole having brackets on separate lines, not having like the bracket at the end of this line. You know what I mean? Yeah, like programming brackets mean. Like if I just
brackets mean.
Yeah, I'm sure I can find one.
Here
we go. There are two types of programmers in the world. I'm both of them apparently. Yeah, I used to be the one on the left. I'm now the one on the right, but like it took some time.
I mean, they're standards, right? Like different languages do it differently. In C-style languages, I think, like C#, you're supposed to.
Well, this is kind of common in C#, yeah. Yeah, this is like standard. Yeah, that's something I learned actually. Like, I don't know about you, but I just like tried to write all my code to look the same, and then I went to uni and realized that different languages have different styles, right? Yes. And follow those things.
I didn't know the console.WriteLine was a thing. I was never aware of this as an idea. I think in VS6 or whatever I was using it, it's like debug.write was the equivalent.
Debug.write.
And it was a good 2 or 3 years before I learned about the idea of doing printing stuff. And I was like, this has changed my life in terms of debugging, because I always used to do an alert box to display like a string value or whatever when I was debugging, and it's never quite as quick as having it print to the console.
Interesting. So we got a statement here that basically says if it's okay, continue. It clears the list, which is, I think it's just an array. Yeah, it's just a big list. That's it. Same thing. And academics be like, you're wrong.
Different name.
Yeah, same sort of idea.
Show, classic. I remember that in.
Yeah. This is called fancy print statements. I cleared the list again. Why do I clear it twice?
See,
I was so determined to not clear it.
You definitely want this to be an empty thing. I'm looking at all your ifs and elses, and you've got a lot of nested things going on here.
It does get very nested.
It's very nested. You've got a function, you've got an if, you've got a using, you've got a while within, you've got if, else, and then if, else, if within that.
I also love the fact I used var here because I had no idea what it was going to give me. So instead of working it out, I just said, I'll let it work. Yeah. Oh dear. Strain reader to read the CSV. Then what this does is it reads in the CSV and then tries to like break up each of the lines into the list. Oh, no, it tries to make paddler objects. Now let's actually, I think the paddler object might be right at the bottom. Yeah, here we go. Paddler class right at the bottom. So C# actually does this really nicely, and I didn't realize how nice this was until I started writing Java. But to do getters and setters, you just do that. You just do, I realized that.
Oh, that's a C# thing. That's really nice.
Yeah. You just do like get set, and it just goes, well, okay, you've got an attribute, you want it to have getters and setters, cool, done. And I didn't realize how like nice that was until I like started writing Java, and you got to write it all manually. But yeah, you know, this was it. You had first name, last name, weight, and preferred side. I mean,
this is decent code, you know, for coursework. You've got, you know, using classes and using object-oriented programming.
I did not understand what I was doing though. Like, if we hop into another, I realised there's a bit of a problem. My camera is in the way of the screen, so I can't actually see the background. If we go to, would it be new paddler? New paddler feels like the one. Yeah, it's this one because I have two different constructors. Now this is construct overriding, right? Where depending on the argument I give it, depends on the thing it does. And the only difference is this one has a main object. I have no idea what a main. Oh, the main object was that other file we looked at, and it makes it global. I don't know why. I'm not entirely sure why I created a main object. Set them to null. Excellent. But yeah, this was constructor overriding. I had no idea that's what it was. I just read some Stack Overflow thing. These obvious comments are hilarious. Thank you. Yeah. I remember when I like got taught this, I remember sitting in the lecture going, oh, that's what I did 6 months ago.
Yeah, I remember I had the same experience, right? When I first learned about this concept of, I think it's called overloading, is in Java. It's when I first learned about it. And you know, when you write code, I was using Visual Studio. And you got the IntelliSense thing, and it gives you the documentation when you start using a function, and it'll show you different kind of arguments based on what data types you're providing to the function, right? Which is exactly what we're doing here. I was absolutely baffled that that existed as a concept, and I didn't know how to do it until I was taught about overloading, and you just literally define it multiple times.
Yeah, which does feel kind of silly because it feels like you're repeating yourself, but like, well, in Python, there's like you can kind of like do a little bit differently, which kind of helps you feel like you're less repeating yourself. But yeah, I feel like there's going to be a lot of that. What else is interesting in this code? Oh, there's some regex. I didn't really understand regexc.
Line 35. Maybe I just don't know C#. But have you got a single vertical line for your OR operator?
I'm pretty sure. Hang on, let's have a look.
Are they not supposed to be double like
C# or statement? Let's have a look at the C# documentation, everybody.
Microsoft
I copied the docs. I'm pretty sure it's just one in C#.
The logic, because that's
and bitwise operations. Why the hell was I doing?
Because you got the logical and operator and the logical or operator.
Here we go, logical or operator. Yeah,
so how's that different from the conditional logical or operator?
Let us know in chat.
If you understand this.
Yeah, well,
teach us something new.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm getting to Java and you're like, wait.
I feel like this is the kind of thing that works by fluke.
Is camel case? The other question is camel case or underscore. I mean, it really depends on the code you're writing. I'm writing Python, absolutely no capital letters, but unless it's classes. But you know, look at this. There's camel case everywhere.
This is Pascal case. Pascal case is camel case, but with a capital letter.
Yeah, sorry. C# likes Pascal case. Java.
It's a very Microsoft thing to do Pascal case.
Yeah. Format paddler. What does this even do? Oh, it just gets rid of some spaces and then makes it uppercase.
Wait,
it just makes the first letter a capital letter. That's so cringe.
this is a lot of lines for making the first letter a capital letter.
Yeah, I know, right? And then what does this do? Modify. Oh yeah, basically the reason there was I think it's because you could either add a new paddler list or you could like modify paddlers. All right. Sorry, Will can't see the. I could just use the trackpad gestures, but I get a little bit nervous using those sometimes. Is there anything else I want?
This is sixth form, right? So you what, like 16, 17 years old?
17, 18, yeah.
17, 18. This is not bad, right? For someone who started coding 2-3 years at that point.
I don't think I've written, but if you, I'm on a Mac, so I can't. What a shame, I can't run it. But if I actually wanted to, it's on here.
Oh, you released it, dude.
Yeah, once I started uni and I learned GitHub, like at the start of November, I was like, oh my god, I must put all my stuff on GitHub because it's gonna get me a job.
Yep.
I don't think putting this on there was going to do that, but it did teach me how to use GitHub, which has been very useful. What's the issue? Not enough. Thank you, Amy. Thank you.
That's fantastic.
Right, Robbie, your turn. Your turn to show us.
My turn. Okay. Are you doing the screen share? Which one are we looking at?
I'll do the screen share.
You do the screen share.
So for those of you who don't know, I have a screen share set. I have a list of things that Robbie gave me beforehand that I got permission to roast. Alright, let's have a look at Robbie's first hackathon project.
Oh, is this red to black? So actually, like this is my third hackathon project, right? So I've got less excuse for it to be rubbish. But red to
context.
Black.
Before you jump into that, people asking for a link to the Dragon Boat app. Only if you give it a star. Same for red to black. Only if you, is this public? It is, yeah. Only if you give it a star. Apple Touch icons. Sorry, continue. I'm just going to keep poking around while you talk.
So red to black is at this point that I was planning to read from the README to explain to you how red to black works, but I didn't write a README for this. This is our fantastic logo, and we built actually.
Let me move the camera.
We built it at MLH Prime EU when that was still a thing. It was a hackathon at Bloomberg's headquarters. Third hackathon I've been to, I think. And if you head into, let's say you head into the API folder, Will. You'll see we've got a couple of files in there. We've got api.php and api.py.
Wait, what? Why have you got it? How do those two languages come across each other? Let's have a look.
Well, you'll see if you fire up that PHP file. We've got.
I am not a PHP person. This looks like
this is a team project, right? So not all of this code is my code, but some of this code is my code. I am.
Is that you trying to get out of the bad bit? You're like, I didn't write this, so therefore it's okay.
I mean, you look at the way we're doing SQL statements and stuff. Like, I'm pretty certain there's SQL injection. You can do SQL injection here. Yeah, look at like line 52, right?
It's line 32. Which line? Sorry.
52. 52.
52. Sorry, I was just looking at my camera. I think it's going to overheat.
This is definitely SQL injectable.
I mean, do you want to try it?
I think when we did this, we hosted it on our university MySQL account. So everyone got a MySQL account with their university account, and we just committed our credentials to the Git repo, as you do. I think they've been removed now, so if you do go look, they're not there anymore. But we hosted it on the university MySQL.
You say that, but like, Git history is a thing.
No, I remember. It might be this one, might be another one. It's so long ago. It's 4 years ago.
We commit this like remove credentials.
I want to look at that API.python file as well. See what that one's all about.
The API. What was it? What was the difference?
So
Flask.
Flask looks like it's doing the same thing. I don't know which of those two API files is the correct one.
Flask RESTful. Wait, what? This is awesome.
Doing an API, is it? It's API.
Wait, you can just do API. I thought you had to do it all manually. Gosh, I'm such a noob. Oh, you just create post. Oh, that's kind of cool. It's like really
I don't think I built this this file. I'm looking at it now. Like, it's not great code. Let's be real. We've got some classes, but the code is certainly not readable. There's a lot of commented out stuff here randomly. SQL statements left in everywhere.
I'm also loving the fact that these are on separate lines when they don't have to be. But that's a good new learning point, you know? If what you can do here in Python, right, is you've got from Flask RESTful import resource and API, but you can just tack the rec parse on the end there as another thing. But yeah, that this one being on a separate line because you've got the .mysql. That makes sense. Also underscore MySQL.
Beats me, dude. It was a long time ago I did this. 4 years ago, it's a scary thought. Fun fact, I actually slept in and missed my train to that hackathon. I had to buy new train tickets for about, I think it was like £90 or something stupid to buy more tickets. It was really steep.
Jeez. That's because you lived up in the north at the time.
Yeah, it was like a 4-hour train to get to London.
Okay, so I see there's a lot of JavaScript in this. So does that mean
Yeah,
there's a
jump in the
React
front end and see what we've got here.
data.js.
Is there anything in this file that's interesting?
This looks like jQuery.
Oh, jQuery, classic. jQuery. When I first learned jQuery, it was like mind-changing, mind-blowing. It's just fantastic. You can see there, look, on lines 8 and 9, we tried to host it on the university's MySQL thing and just gave up. So we did it on localhost instead.
using university resources for non-university things.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
I'm pretty certain we were deploying using FTP as well. Like we would just FTP into it in FileZilla and just drag the files over every time.
Wow. I feel like script.js is where the magic. All of this is just you committing like jQuery.
Yeah, like
not knowing how to import
jQuery
them.
library, the range slider, with a chart
So
thing.
that's actually a good learning point for people. Instead of having, so you can just download jQuery off the internet and you get this horrifically long file that's just completely unreadable. Like it's not nice. But what you can do, and you can see me leaning over to see behind the camera, you can import them into your HTML files and a link tag these days. I don't know if that is the go-to way of doing it. That's generally how I do it because I don't really want to download a massive chunky file that I have to remember and like commit every time and there.
Yeah, you've got a lot of options for including JavaScript libraries, right? I mean, jQuery is kind of going out of fashion now anyway, but if you use something like Webpack that can do all your JavaScript bundling for you, that's great. Or if you just include jQuery, as a script reference, you benefit from CDNs and caching as well, right? Like if you reference the same jQuery instance as some other website, then yeah. I tell you what, Will, if you jump into script.js, there's some juicy code here.
Oh, is there?
I'm not sure why it's written this way, but we've got a good strong mixture of const, let, and var.
What does this project do again?
It's some kind of finance budgeting app, I think.
The classic going to a hackathon and getting told to do finance by sponsors.
Yep, and we didn't win. Let's just say that.
Sponsors do have good prizes.
So yeah, we've got a mixture of const, let, and var. For what it's worth, you basically never want to use var these days. It's just old.
What is the difference between var and let, Robbie?
Something to do with scoping.
Yeah, I believe that from my understanding. However, disclaimer: I am no JavaScript expert. I'm pretty sure that var, like the variable is like in scope as soon as the thing runs, whereas no, I think that's let, but var is like until it gets to the line. So like, yeah. I think if you have it like within an if block, for example, and you do a let, it's not defined outside that if block. Let's have a look. Geeks for Geeks, saving the day every day. Yeah, consent. Let's have a look. I should just read the top. I do this. I scroll to the bottom and go, I didn't understand any of that, and then just didn't read it. Yeah. So here we got a code: console.log var console.log output. Yeah, because it doesn't know what x is. But if you do it with let, wait, what? What is it?
Look, you basically never want to be using var, right?
This is trash. Let me find a better example. This Stack Overflow post, I've seen this before. Var keywords are scoped to the immediate function body, hence the function scope, while let variables are scoped to the immediate enclosing block.
Exactly.
Oh, that's pretty cursed. There you go.
So
here's
you can
a good
do
example.
braces out of the blue for no reason. The way I see it, right, is like if you can't say let variable equals something inside an if statement, like an if block, and then access it outside the if block. So you define it before the if block, set it in the if block. Whereas if you use var, you can, but I don't like using var. It's just old.
Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Exactly.
And
Keep
the
it
reason
simple.
they haven't removed it and they just created a new one is because it will break lots of old things that do weird things like this. Because I think the thing is, let's a more traditional thing. Like if you write other languages, that's normally how it'll work. Whereas var that if you try and do that in Python will just look at you and go, you good there? Can I help you?
Old quirk of JavaScript, right? Which you've got to keep around so you don't break the internet.
It's the same with most things, right? Like you have to keep things around because old servers that are running Java, right, from like 20 years ago, right?
Yep.
You'll break how much of like the industry that are running on these old like Java servers.
Oh, geez. I'm looking at these. You see these braces? I've got Will style braces, even though it's JavaScript.
Will
line 10.
Braces.
That's what they're called now.
Didn't know I owned them.
We've got some global functions. Got a ternary operator, line 25. I do love a good ternary
What on
operator.
earth is a ternary operator? This.
One of those question mark ones.
Is this the if statement? Yeah.
Yeah, they're so
set
good.
red to this or this. No, if it's red, set to this, I'll set it to this. There we go. We are there.
Exactly.
I hate these though because they're so hard to read compared to a traditional. So this is the thing, right? People think there's a good idea of like, so sometimes it does make sense to try and reduce the number of lines so it's more readable, but sometimes like some programs, like especially JavaScript, you can write in all one line almost. Doesn't mean you should, because it makes it, less code doesn't mean more readability. It's finding a good balance of like a good amount of code that means you can understand what's going on, but not too little that you have to really be an expert in these weird language specifics that let you do all sorts of weird stuff. So sorry, Robbie, just gets a dislike from me.
I still love a good ternary operator. I think they're great. But like you said, not very beginner friendly.
No.
I think we're using this progress bar library clearly to draw some beautiful progress bar.
Did you import it somewhere? Or did you make it yourself?
I think it's imported on the HTML file.
Oh, let's have a look. This is good data for me too, because I'm learning how to do web dev.
It's not HTML web dev. What have we got? We've got 3 style sheets at the top. An I no bounce thing. I think it was supposed to be like a mobile web app, right?
Gotcha. So you're trying to make it feel a bit like a progressive web app without actually being a progressive web app.
If you head to the very bottom, I think we import the scripts just before the body closing tag. Yeah, there you go. Jquery, progress bar, the data file, the range slider, whatever.
This is another interesting thing as well. Importing stuff. Well, this is only one page, but like if you have multiple pages, it's generally advisable to not import things you're not using, because poor weak laptops with weak internet connections trying to download your entire jQuery bundle if you're literally not using any jQuery on a page, right? It's kind of slow, right? Is that a thing, Robbie, or am I just talking out of my mouth?
No, I mean, yeah, it comes down to how you decide to do your JavaScript, right? Like you can import everything independently. Well, the other thing I see a lot of modern web apps do is they just have a single massive JavaScript bundle, like 4 megabytes or whatever, which is not a terrible idea, right? Like, yes, it's a bit slower to load on the first occurrence, but it means every time you load a page after that, you've got that bundle cached.
Yeah, it's like, it depends. Like, if 99% of your pages, right, are going to require jQuery and there's the odd one that doesn't, you might as well just all import it in one go, right? Apart from like, write that one page slightly differently just so it doesn't import it, because it will already be cached at that point as well, probably. So it will, you won't notice it anyway. Well, I think that was an interesting one. Red to black, Robbie.
I learned a lot that weekend. Let's say that.
Yeah. No stuff. I got another issue. Let's have a look. No documentation. On how to use it. Great. No stars either. Oh, disappointed.
Man. This red to black one is. I've just noticed that it's a fork, and I think it's because I forked it from
your mate,
the guy who actually hosted it. Oh, you can see there that exact commit. Good sec is hard with no sleep. Click on that. Go on there for
Do I want to know?
It's not as bad as you think. It's where they've done some crazy Git rewriting history, right?
Oh, this is so cursed. Removed. Is that because you added removed there, or was it like kind of trying to like censor it?
It was originally in the Git history, the actual credentials, and then at some point they rewrote them.
I'm also loving the fact that you're using
the MySQL
the Durham universe.
I didn't even know if you get the MySQL anymore at the university.
Who knows? Who knows? Right, what should we look at next?
Should we do another one of yours?
Yeah.
Oh, let's do your countdown timer.
The countdown timer. I was going to do my first Android app. To be fair,
actually,
the Android app is hilarious because it's because of the way it was. There was no. I still don't know if there's a better way of doing this. Oh, I got a star. Who was it from? Oh, someone at my university. Fair enough. Oh, let me add it. Let's add it back. Let's add us back. Whoa, that's a very strange view.
Sushi one.
So
try this one out.
There's actually a screenshot. There's actually documentation.
Hey, this is a good readme. Look at it.
No, right? I actually put this on Google Play as well.
Is it still there?
I think so. Wait, is it
You
on
got 5 reviews.
Yeah, people didn't like it because after a while they upped it. Inflation's a thing, right? So the prices rose, and I just hard coded the prices, so people complained because they were all. It just was completely useless.
But look, you got 5 stars from Edward Harley. If you scroll down,
Oh, he's a friend of mine.
Phil Collins, 2 stars.
Don't know this person. Don't know this person. My aunt liked it. Yeah, prices are wrong. Can't add extras like drinks.
100 plus installs. Not bad.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Damn, not bad going. I should log into my Google developer account and see what's. Oh look, oh yeah. So my mum has a she had a Google Pixel XL, and I remember when I ran it on her phone, it just like everything was in the wrong place. I had a smaller Pixel, and she had the bigger one, and I was like.
Oh man.
Anyway, let's have a look. So basically, the backstory behind this project is that. Again, me and my ex-girlfriend went to Yo Sushi, and being cheap students that we were, I was like, I really don't want to have to like sit here on the date and like calculate on the calculator on my phone, because basically the way Yo Sushi works, for those of you who don't know what it is, you have basically different prices. They have a little conveyor belt that goes around, and the plates on the conveyor belt are different values. And as you can see, I've made the buttons on here the same colors as the plate, sort of. Let me see if I can find a picture. And so the Yo Sushi, I looked that up last night when I was prepping for this. Yeah, so you got like these like conveyor belts that go around, and they got these little plates with colors. And the idea is that you just pick up different plates. Now it's kind of annoying because they basically bill you at the end when you've got all the plates on your table. And so I was wanting to like add it up as we go along, because it's very easy to sort of just get carried away. Oh, I'll just have another one. Oh, that's £4, and then you do that 3 times, and oh, that's £12.
Yeah.
That's like an entire like Deliveroo, as Robbie and I would know. So yeah, I decided, you know what, I'll make a quick app. I haven't really made an Android app before, but I want to learn how to make one. How hard can it be? I'm literally just making a hard-coded calculator, you know? There is no API, but if there was, that'd be cool, because I could just pull like values straight from that, and it always be up to date.
So when people say the prices are wrong, it's because you've just hard-coded the price of each dish.
Yeah, exactly.
In the source code.
Exactly. Which we'll find out in a minute. And then I wanted to be able to later on like add drinks and stuff. I thought, I can add those on myself. But yeah, it kind of worked pretty well. And I also rewrote this in Flutter. So if you want to look at that, the Flutter one's also pretty messy, to be honest. Yeah, so let's have a look.
Pull up your source code, right? I'm just looking here. You've got a single main activity.java file.
Yeah, it's all one Java file.
And in classic Java fashion, it's about 8 directories deep.
Yeah, and then I'll show you the UI as well, which is even worse. Yeah, so the problem we have here is I have a switch case statement for some bizarre reason, which is on click. So basically I tell all the buttons that when they are clicked to basically run this, it gets their ID, and if the ID is like green left, green right. Why did I call it green left and right? That's so dumb. Because as we've already concluded, the left was like add and minus or whatever, right? I'm pretty sure I put these the wrong way around. Is it minus add, or do you do add minus? I'm pretty sure the Flutter app has it the other way around.
Dude. I do know your webcam's died though.
Oh, my camera's overheated. That is actually tragic.
Camera's overheated.
Yeah, it has. It's actually that hot. It's not even that hot.
Don't burn yourself.
It did say it was going to overheat. I don't know why. It will come back.
It's because we're roasting this code.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Cool.
So yeah, this basically, I just had an ID for each of the buttons, and it would either like run this function called add or remove, and it passed orange TV,
green TV. What is TV?
Oh, text view.
Oh, jeez.
So the idea is it passed the text view. Oh, because the text view in this context was this number in the middle thing. So it needs to update it by 1.
So you're not holding like that state separately. You're literally parsing the value from the text view.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Great.
Yeah. And then it prints out adding. Print statement. Should have used logging. Because then I could just turn that off very easily. String text gets the text from... this is horrific. So it gets the number that's already there, converts it into an integer, adds a value to it, and then sets it back. Why store the state separately when you can just manually calculate it every time?
This is fantastic. I mean, look at the change price function, right? Or increase price. The increase price, you've got, there's your values hard coded. You've got the same values duplicated in your decrease price function.
With a negative in front of it. Yeah.
And then you've got a change price.
Now, for what it's worth, I'm pretty sure that the Flutter Rewrite does state a little better here, to be honest. Let's have a very quick glimpse at that.
This is pretty cool.
I did rewrite it in Flutter in like a few months later because I was like, oh, let's learn Flutter. Trying to spot that little the light green color. Here we go, Yosushi price calculator. So we go to lib. It's all one file again, but even the UI's in it this time. Yeah, here we go. Look, I actually store them as variables.
The prices separately now.
And the prices are, where are the prices? Did I? Oh jeez, there's so much code. Oh no, they're not. So we made one improvement. Look at how bad this is though. Add green. It just like adds one to the total, and then like, wow. But that's because the reason I did it like this is because Java does Flutter does variables really nicely because I can basically just say the total, just like display the variable.
Oh, yeah,
just
like React style. Yeah. Yeah,
it'll just update for you. So yeah, because it has the add button, the total, and I basically parsed it what color to show, which is terrible. I was like, how do I write this without just repeating myself, like the number of plates there are? The answer is you don't. You just repeat yourself.
You know, I was just looking back at your old code on that change price function. So you know when you were getting the number, right? You were getting the text value and parsing it. I think you're doing it even worse on the change price function. Because you're getting the current price string, which has a pound sign at the beginning of it. So you do a substring to remove the first character, parse it as a double, right? Add the change, whatever that is, which is the plus or minus thing. I don't know what we're doing. Multiply it by 100 and divide by 100? Why? Is that to round it?
Yeah, to round it, because it gave me a weird value otherwise.
Oh, jeez. And then whack a pound sign in front of it again.
Yeah. And an extra 0 so that it didn't just say like 1.2. It would say like £1.20.
Oh, man. This is horrifying.
It's not good at all, is it? And then the clear button just set everything back to 0.
0. Fantastic.
It just set all of it, but it sets the text because the state was held as a string. Wow, that is really bad. Why don't I just have like in my like here, I've got these text views. So for those of you who haven't written Java before, or Android specifically, right? What you would do up here is you'd have a bunch of private attributes. You'd call them like green, like total. And then you just calculate the price by timesing the total by like the price. You just hard code those as like constants, right? Whatever. Because they're not changing. Well, in theory they will eventually, but that's not your problem. At least that's the approach I took 2 years ago when I wrote this. And then in your onCreate, you just set up those values. Oh, my camera's died. It's about to die.
Oh, you're gonna disappear. Oh,
yeah.
He's frozen. You know, this is like every video call you ever have with anyone. Right. We've just got Will and Robbie now. Yeah,
well, theoretically we'll end soon. Next time I'll use my phone. I've got the Elgato ebook app on my phone, which means I can use it as a webcam.
Isn't it like a really expensive mirrorless camera you're using as well?
Yeah, it keeps overheating. It overheated last week as well. I don't know why it's overheating.
You need to put it in like an icebox or something.
Yeah, I know. Didn't Linus Tech Tips, right? Let's just take a minute to. Linus Tech Tips did this. They put a computer in a fridge, and
God.
But the issue you have there is the heat just like made the fridge hot and then didn't go anywhere. So it works like very well for like right at the start, and then the heat generated, and it was like, well, what am I supposed to do with the heat? Yeah, it's quite funny.
Oh man.
So the last thing I'm going to show in this app, and then I think we'll go through one of yours again.
Yeah.
Is right, I've got to work out in the Java app where to actually like where I'm going to find the UI. You know, you got to backtrack like a
buried somewhere.
Source, it'll be under main, and then res, and then layout, and then activity underscore main.xml. So camera's dead again. Bye, folks. There you go. There we go. Actually, I've got a better idea. A much better idea. Hang on a second.
Switch camera?
No, that's going to take too long. So I'm just going to upload. I'm just going to put an image of my. I'm using an OBS virtual webcam, right, to pipe my camera.
I'm going to put a picture of Will on it.
Yeah, I'm just going to put a random photo of myself up.
You need to like do some like sync it up to the audio so your mouth like animates down
Dude,
when you
that, is
talk.
that sounds like a hackathon project. Oh,
It does sound like a hackathon project. I think your picture is too high res. There we go. Beautiful, Will.
Okay. Hopefully that fixes things a little bit. That was quite quick, actually. Yeah, so this code had lots of relative layouts. Basically, I could say like these buttons should be relative to everything else, and then I just like had to slap them all together in a big row. Yeah, I wish there was a way of templating this, because I'm literally doing the same thing, but just like different colors, right?
So
And different
I
IDs.
say, right, that I'm not an Android dev at all. Are you kind of drawing this with a GUI and it's generating XML for you, or are you handwriting each line here?
I'm handwriting. So the way that Android works, I can show you very quickly. Actually, we'll get Android Studio booting up in the background. It doesn't run very well on it.
Because they get ready for
M1.
fans to go insane.
Nah, it's an M1, mate. It will just sit there and not do anything. But yeah, the idea is that you can do drag and drop, but you can also write it manually. I prefer to write it manually because of all of these variables you end up writing. I just find it a little bit easier to do that way. It does give you like all the autocomplete and stuff. But yeah, this is like, think of this as like your HTML. All right, here we go. This is my university, university lab. Just give it a moment. Robbie, what should we look at yours while we wait for this to load?
Do you want to look at my one? I think Tabular is a good one to look at.
All right, we'll get this.
Tabular is a I think it's a board game which is played by the Romans. This is how my lecturer introduced it to us anyway. And it was it says on the README, Tabular is a board game that was played by the Romans. This was some coursework I did in my first year of university. The module was Introduction to Programming, and we were learning Java. And if you load up the repo, Will, the repository is called Tabular IJ Refresh. Now, can you deduce perhaps why it's got this interesting name for the repository?
Because you try to refactor it and make it better.
You're pretty close, right? Basically, I had a repository called Tabular, and I broke it, and I didn't know how to fix it, so I just decided to ignore that repository, make a new repo.
Classic.
IJ being IntelliJ, refresh is like second attempt. So yeah, this is the second attempt of my of my project.
I think Android Studio is loaded. It's incredibly slow on a Mac M1. It's like the one thing that just runs like rubbish.
Sluggish.
It's like a very big Intel app that's not getting M1 support anytime soon. It does have a pretty fast emulator though that's in beta because it's running natively, right? Because it's not having to translate from Intel to ARM. It's just straight to ARM. Don't update Android Studio. So like if I open this, oh my god, it's so slow. So here's my XML code, right? You can't really see that on stream, but take my word for it. And on the right-hand side, once this initiates, oh my god, this is so
initialates.
Initializes is what I'm trying to say.
Initialite, dude. I'm never gonna let you forget that.
Great. Yeah, when I zoom in, you can see it's like showing me a preview, and I can drag and drop, and I can see like, how things are relative really to each other. Yeah, it's really nice. My Android modules actually taught me how to use the UI. I've always just handwritten it. But yeah, you can say like make it constrained to this. So like a really cool thing is, right, if you've got a button and you want the button to be constrained to, let's say the bottom of this text box to be constrained to the top of this button, you can just tell them to like do that so they never overlap and it works on different size screens. But I'm gonna close Android Studio because boy, it is a heavy application.
Hey, you told me it was fine with your M1.
My M1 does everything absolutely fine apart from Android Studio, which is annoying. Fortunately, I do have you can't see because you can't see me right now, but take my word for it. All right. So this project,
Tabular.
Robbie.
Yeah. Oh, you literally see it there, right? Under about this project, this repo replaces the previous broken Tabular repo.
Wait, let's have a look. Can I see it?
I don't even know what's on here. Oh,
what's
Jesus.
the difference? The both commits are on the same day. What did you actually add? Oh, you added a whole number of commits, 41 to 58. Oof.
Jeez.
Oof. Actually, you know what I'm gonna
I did
do,
a lot there. I think at this point I must have learned how to use Git, kind of like enough to put the commits on, but not enough to fix it after I'd broken it.
I'm gonna try and do something really cool here. There we go. So now I'm looking at the code.
Nice.
I'll flip my camera. Don't mind. Laptop commit. This is called.
Are these all the
What
.idea files?
Oh dear.
The IDE files? Yeah, it is.
Oh, so one of the first things I learned when I was starting out using Git, and I'm sure you did too, Please don't tell me the final commit was the Git Ignore. Was how to use a .git ignore. What would you say to people who are learning what's a Git Ignore, Robbie, and why people should use them?
Git Ignore is like the best thing. It's just a list of files you don't want committed to version control. So if you think about someone else is going to clone your repository, you take a copy of your code, they essentially want the purest version of that code without all the extra stuff you have on your machine. Like, you might like to use IntelliJ to write your code. I might like to use VS Code, right? I don't need your IntelliJ config files there. If you're building it, I don't need your build artifacts. I just need, the actual code and the instructions to build it. I don't need what's actually built. You want to keep the source code kind of as lean as you can, and so the Git Ignore is a great way to do that, because you just type in a list of the files or the patterns you want to ignore. So you might ignore all zip files, you might ignore everything in a certain directory, like node modules. If you're on a Mac, you might ignore the .ds store file, which seems to come up everywhere, but it's conveniently not in my Git Ignore here.
So I've actually added the .ds store to my global Git Ignore for my Mac. You can search up how to set up a global Git Ignore, but they're pretty useful. I think the DS store is because on a Mac, right, if I just go to my desktop for a second, right, and let's say I just if I had two files, this is a terrible example, because this is not my main desktop. Here's a screenshot, right? I can put the screenshot anywhere I want on the desktop, and it will stay there. And the DS store file, I think, basically stores the coordinates rather than it being forced into like a grid. I think that's how it works, which is incredibly annoying because now it's not like in the middle. You can like fix it, but anyway. All right, so this is a Java project. So source, let's have a look in the source folder. Yep. Hold up. Did you commit the out? This sounds like a yikes. Robbie.
Yeah, like this is me not knowing how to use Git Ignore properly. It's not about not knowing how to use Git Ignore. It's not knowing what not to include, right? Yeah. You write your code and your IDE generates a bunch of stuff for you, and you go, oh, how much of this do I need? Which is why lots of people commit node modules for exactly that reason, right? Because they think, oh, it's part of my project, I need it.
Exactly.
You don't need it.
So here's something useful for people that you might find interesting. So for Java specifically, I'm assuming you're using something like Gradle. I don't know. No, maybe Maven. I don't know. If you're using something like Gradle to build your project, Gradle's quite clever. I think Maven is too, but I know Gradle definitely does this. Let's say you make a couple changes. You've got 4 Java files and then you want to compile them so you can run them. Gradle will only compile the ones that actually had changes, because like, why, if you've got like hundreds and hundreds of classes, recompiling all 100 of them, even though like one of them actually had a change, is incredibly inefficient. Especially if you made like a typo, right? Like, oh, I just made this variable wrong, whatever. So when we look into Robbie's classes, I've lost them now, they're in the out folder. When we look at all these classes that he's produced, they've all got different commit names, because some of these evidently never changed, or he put them in the Git Ignore, and to be honest, that won't even work, because if you add things to the Git Ignore after they've been committed, they continue to be committed and tracked by Git.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, this is why there's a mixture of things and so on. But yeah, it's basically, you don't want to commit your class files, because every single time you compile or have a change, these files are going to change. Every single time. They're going to be slightly different.
Or if they don't change, it's still going to recompile them, right? It's still going to rebuild them, even if they turn out to be exactly the same. You should always rebuild. You should always like run code fresh, right? If you're downloading a project, always compile it fresh if you're compiling it, rather than just sort of assuming the classes there are going to be good, because it might not work on your system, or blah blah blah, lots of reasons. I mean, you can see there, right, in the README instructions, I've got instructions on how to compile it, and it's literally just using straight, Java C.
Yeah.
With something called JSON. Have you heard of JSON, Will?
Have I heard of JSON? JSON. What the heck?
JSON is like Google JSON or something.
I have heard of JSON. Where's this JSON?
I don't know where.
I've used it like once or twice before.
Is it in game.java? Yeah, if you go in game.java. Why is there
so many files?
I think our lecturer gave us like an outline with a bunch of interface files, and we basically had to fill out the methods.
I think I used JSONs for my team project written in Java for university. I'm pretty sure we did.
So I think we use JSON here to basically serialize a class.
Yeah.
So we have
a serialization class, for you,
right? And we want to serialize that so we can store the game state.
Here we go. Save game.
There we go. I was pretty pleased with how I managed to build that. Gson did a lot of the heavy lifting.
Exactly.
Clearly, I don't know anything about dependencies and stuff because I'm including the jar file in the repository and telling you to call it locally on the command line. But
yeah,
it's really nice how well it works.
No, I liked it. I mean, we've all done this. I wrote a script recently that downloads dev post videos, and it's a Python script, but it just like runs stuff in the terminal. It doesn't even know YouTube DL is written in Python. I still run it through the terminal because it's easier. It is easier, to be honest. But geez, this is so much code. It reminds me of my team project, just having like class after class.
There is a lot of code here.
Some of these are just interfaces which have nothing to them because that's just how you write interfaces, right?
Yeah, I'd never come across the idea of an interface until it was taught to me in a lecture.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is the point of this?
Yeah.
And now I see it's actually really useful. It just, it's better to be over explicit when you're coding stuff, right?
Exactly. Because like I'm looking through this so purposely Robbie sent me this stuff beforehand. I didn't look at it, right? I wanted to look at it with a fresh pair of eyes on stream. I'm looking at it going, what on earth is going on here? But I can kind of work out what's going on here, right?
I think this isn't too bad, to be honest, this code. I'm pretty certain I only got like 60-something% out of 100, and I can't remember why, but...
I wonder if I can find my A-level, my team project that looks a little bit similar to this. Hang on, let's have a look. What else is there in this, Robbie, that you're proud of?
Let me see if I can find some more code that's wacky. Actually, I learned how to use enums. I was very excited about that.
Enums?
For colors.
Oh yes, enums are kind of cool. How would you describe an enum for like a JavaScript user?
Ooh, that's a good question. The enum is like a data type, right? Of that can only hold specific values. I don't know. I haven't used an enum since whatever the latest commit is on the enum file. April 2017. So 4 years ago.
Let me see if I can find. Oh, I can find it on Git. I should clone all this before I graduate to make sure I can keep a copy of my old work. Let me log in. Hold up a second. We did come up with quite a long list of projects, so I don't think we're going to go through all of them. I think we'll rush through this very quickly once Will's logged in. The joys of having dual monitors, because then you can't see me logging into...
Only 2? Dude, I've got 4. To be fair, one of them is a separate laptop. Well, I've got 5 if you count like that.
I have an ultra wide. I didn't realize this was a flexing competition, but okay.
It's not. I expensed all mine to work.
I did not.
Expense yours to Will.
I expense mine to Will, yeah.
Oh, man.
Will of Will. Right, I found it. This is the restricted university Git lab. It just means you can't mess up the Git history.
That's what we have a university a Git lab. Like as far as I know, we didn't have
my project on it. My project's been on like a different Git repo for a while. The other day I was like, I need to actually like merge the histories because otherwise they're gonna look at me and go, "Have you done nothing?" Right. So let me bring up the. Oh no, there we go. So there we go.
I'm using GitLab at work and do not like.
I thought it's alright. I just don't like all the stuff on the left.
It's not as slick as GitHub is.
So, what did I write? I wrote the networking. It's trash, FYI. Yeah, like, look at all of this. Like, wait, I did write some interfaces, though. Why did I write? It implements network interface. Let's have a look.
Network interface, why?
Also, my camera seems to have stopped overheating. All I did was move it slightly. I don't understand. Yeah, look, I just
interface, right?
The reason we did these interfaces as well was because then the Java docs was kind of hidden away, so it was easy to see what was going on. And also then it meant that the people I was working with, I could basically give them a template. So I ended up being kind of the more experienced one in the group, which is fair enough, right? I did a lot more programming in my own time. And the interface meant that I was able to kind of give people a little bit more freedom by going, here is the kind of rough structure what we need. Go off and write it. So I give them an interface going like these are the classes, the functions we need, right, or methods. Go off and make it, which made that I didn't have to like sort of get constant questions of okay, I've written one function, what should I do next? And
the interfaces are great for stuff like that, right? When you're writing code collaboratively, because it's almost like a spec sheet, you know?
Yeah.
Because you can build out your module, right? Expecting, and you know exactly what you're going to get from the other module because you've already defined that in the interface.
Exactly.
We should use interfaces more often.
We should. There you go. For those
JavaScript
of you
doesn't have them, does it?
I don't think JavaScript does. What other languages have interfaces? I think
The C#
Python. C# definitely does, because C# is basically Java.
Basically Java.
Does Python have interfaces? You
We
probably saw them.
into wacky languages like Rust, Haskell,
Oh, I mean, you can
Prolog.
do interfaces, but like I don't
TypeScript has
mean,
interfaces.
thing is, you won't really write classes in Python, and when you like, if you're going to do object oriented, you don't really pick Python for it. There's better languages for it.
Yeah.
Like, so TypeScript does. Oh yeah, there you go. You did say that. You did say that out loud. Okay. I reckon we'll very quickly. What else have we got that we can very, very quickly run through? I think we'll very quickly go through the countdown timer and then we'll wrap it up.
Oh yeah, let's do this one.
Because the countdown timer is actually cool because we actually used it.
I've seen that at events. Yeah.
You've used it at events. You used
Exactly.
it for me. Oh yeah, I wrote a Wear OS app for it too. It's my first ever Wear OS app. Yeah, it's exactly the same to write a Wear OS app. So I'll show you actually. So it'll be in my watch branch. Lol. So in the source folder, in hackathon, oh Jesus, main activity. Wait, this is wrong. Oh no, it's a watch. It's
Oh, you've committed .idea as well.
no, because you actually aren't supposed to ignore the whole folder. You're supposed to ignore some of it. If you look it up, because someone told me, "Ooh, you've committed the .idea folder," and then I looked on the IntelliJ docs and they're like, "Nah, because it also generates the Git Ignore for you, and it puts some of the idea in it, but not all of it." There you go. Fun fact. Always look up before you comment. So I have a module here. Whenever I'm teaching Android dev to people, they're always like, why do I have an app folder and then all the sort of stuff? And I'm like, well, you might have multiple like different versions of your app that all kind of use the same sort of stuff. Because it's a bit confusing, right? You've got a build.gradle here. If I go into the app folder, I have another build.gradle. It's like, why do I need two?
Yeah.
It's like, well, this is kind of like a master. This is like a parent class, right? And these two can kind of inherit from it, sort of. So if you have like a library that they're both using, but they're like for different use cases, like a watch app is very different to a phone app, right? You can kind of define it in there. So that's so what on earth? Add Lombok and yeah, that's
Lombok.
So we have a look at the watch one, right? And go to source very quickly. Java main activity. In here, instead of extending a compact activity, whatever it is, it extends a wearable activity, and that's pretty much the only change in the code. The logic's exactly the same because it's actually really nice to write them. They've made it so that it's very simple to sort of write an existing app. You haven't got to like learn a whole load of new stuff to sort of just do the same thing.
Because it's just Java, right, on Wear OS as well, you know?
Well, yeah, exactly. It's
the
just
same
compiling
code,
it down.
just a different wrapper, yeah.
Yeah, if I now go to source and then res, the only thing that was obviously different was the UI, because like a watch screen is a bit different to a phone screen, and there's like buttons. So yeah, here it like makes a box insert layout, and yeah, I basically just showed a countdown on it. It was nothing special. I just thought, or maybe we should jump into what on earth this app did and why the heck you should care.
This was a useful app.
It was actually pretty good. So hackathon demos are my best friend. I'm a big fan of them. I actually own. Ooh. I bought one of these bad boys for them. I don't realise people.
I remember that. You bought all that kit, and now you can't use it.
And now I can't use it. Yeah, I know. One day I'll get to use it again, probably. But yeah, this is a HDMI switcher. It lets you plug 4 HDMIs in and switch them and do all sorts of very fancy stuff like that. And I used to basically go along to hackathons and just beg them to let me improve their live demos at the end, because live demos are boring and dull when they're like 2 hours long and you're sleep deprived. So how can we improve it? So I basically turned up with a little suitcase of one called Will Palette, and what we did was, well, I say what we did, it was mostly me, but I dragged a couple people in, like Robbie a few times, and my friend Dan and John, and yeah, we just made the demos a little bit more engaging, background music, some sound effects, you know, holding screens and so on. Pretty fun stuff. And one of the things that was annoying with hackathon demos, I remember this being an issue at Hack Cambridge, that they had judges sat there who were asking questions, and they had absolutely no idea how long they had to ask questions, and so they would just ask and ask and ask, and no one would have the balls to go and tell them, you need to shut up and we need to move on.
Yeah, because you need to be so particular on the timing, right? When you've got, say, 15, 20 teams presenting, you might give 3 minutes per team, and you have to be strict on that. If, you know, a bunch of teams run over by a couple of minutes, that really adds up.
Yeah, exactly. Especially when people have got train tickets to get, and they, you know, they're their advanced single, advanced single tickets, which means that if you miss it, tough, you've just burnt 50 quid or whatever, which for a student is quite a lot more. For anyone is quite a lot of money, but especially as a student, right? It's like you earn up all this money to go to a hackathon, and then all of a sudden you're stuck in a city you don't know. It's not ideal, but yeah, this app was designed that it was basically just a synchronized countdown timer where I could put my iPad anywhere with an Android app. It's got rewritten to work on Flutter, so it works on the web. The idea is that you just give a load of people this app. We used it at Raw Hackaway, where Robbie had the app in front of him as a judge. The team demoing had it, and it would flash within the last like 20 seconds to kind of go, yo, you need to wrap up now, make sure you kind of get on with that. Yeah, it was really fun. You know, it didn't take very long to write, and we used Firebase to like synchronize it. I basically had a real-time database that stored the timestamp where I wanted it to finish, so that it meant that even if they got them at the wrong time or anything came out of sync or whatever, and even if it disconnected from the internet, it would still count down. It didn't really matter. It just went, you need to finish counting down to here. Work out how long that's going to take. Like, oh, you've got 46 seconds because you got the thing later. Sure, whatever. But it just meant that even if you like your app connected later, it would be able to. There's probably better ways to write it nowadays, but it was a fairly simple way of doing it, and it meant that I was able to put like my phone in front of myself so I could see, because I was normally sat off behind the side hiding. I could put my old little Android tablet in front of the team demoing, and then they just controlled it from a web app that my friend made, who I still don't understand how it works. It's like Firebase functions, I think. But yeah,
it was great because you had this timer that was in sync, right? From a user experience point of view, it was really awesome for the person who's coordinating the judging and the demos. It's useful for the people presenting because they can see on a timer how long they've got left. It's useful for the judges because they can know what to expect as well. It's a great way of keeping things on schedule. And it saves anyone having to be the bad guy and like start clapping to get people to get off the stage.
Yeah. Something that I think would be really cool to do in the future is imagine doing in-person events in the same way that we do live streams now with all these fancy animated graphics and stuff. It's JavaScript, right? You can put the countdown on the screen like in the lower corner, you know, and then like at the end it could cover the screen being like time's up rather than me just sort of fading it to a logo with the event logo, right? You could actually make it a little bit more like demo over and make it a little bit more interactive and kind of fancy, just with the power of JavaScript, which is not something I want to promote, but let's have a very quick look at this code. There isn't a lot of code here.
But yeah, like you say, it's not a particularly complex app, right?
Yeah, so like we have this countdown logic.
The simple apps are the best ones.
Oh, yes, I updated it so that you could show a time instead, so you could just get it to say like the current time in big, because if you're a hackathon, if you're like doing opening, right, you're not counting down, but you want to make sure your opening ceremony's on time, and it's just useful to have a big clock relatively close nearby, right? If you haven't got one in the room that's visible or it's off to the side, you can just put the countdown like on the front row of the audience, so like when you're looking at people, you can see, oh, okay, I need to speed up because the sponsors are going to run out of time. So that's what this is, and I basically had a fragment that you could swap them in and out. It's pretty neat. I was trying to work out why on earth is there two. Yeah, and the countdown was a bit separate. And then, did I not put my screen up? Lol.
No,
thanks, Robbie. Yeah, the time activity was really simple. It just showed there's like an element in Android that you can just show a timer, very easy. But yeah, the main activity is where the magic happens. Basically, there's all these intents to start the different activities. I sound like where's all the logic?
Where is the actual code?
Time? Is it in time? Wait, what?
No.
Time? I'm very confused. Where's the actual
There
code?
just is no code in this program.
Oh, here we go. It's in the countdown. Yeah, the countdown one was complicated because it actually required like logic. So basically in Firebase, you can do the thing with the real-time database where you can have this method called onDataChange, which basically just sits there and listens for a data snapshot from Firebase, which is basically anytime Firebase gets an update, it will grab that data immediately, which means it's super easy. You haven't got to sit there constantly checking. It just sort of waits there and gets told by Firebase, yo, there is new data, also known as, yo, someone has set the countdown. So
how responsive is this, Will? Are we talking like a second, 10 seconds?
Oh, it was like instant. Like from a human perspective, you wouldn't really notice. Like if I clicked the start button, it would start pretty much immediately. It's really quick.
Really awesome because if you've got a countdown timer, you need it to be in sync. Across all the devices.
Which is why I did the timestamp thing in case, like for whatever reason, one device took slightly longer to get it than the other. Because even if that countdown one started a little later, like 2 seconds later, in theory they should all end at the same time. Because I did have an issue where it didn't start counting down. Like, let's say you got a 3-minute countdown, it would start counting down at 2 minutes 58 seconds. Not ideal.
So rather than saying start counting down now, you're saying I need you to finish counting by this Unix timestamp.
Exactly. I just gave it an epoch, I think, just a big number.
Nice.
So if time is equal to null, or my friend helped me write this as well. He basically was like, yo, Firebase is what you want to use. And I was like, well, I don't know how to do that. And then he wrote it, and I spent ages like tweaking. I mostly wrote like the logic. He basically got me the data from Firebase, and then I wrote the logic to sort of make the countdown work. Time.getStart. I used an enum here, I think, and then I'm able to basically work out an exact timestamp of when it's supposed to finish from that epoch, so it's actually usable. And then I start my countdown app, and it starts. And then there's an on cancel to, I don't know what that does, but then the init countdown is where the magic happens. It basically does minutes and seconds and calculates milliseconds. Oh yeah, because it gives it all in milliseconds, and then you just turn it into a useful time. And then in the last 10 seconds, but only every 2 seconds. So it means it would go like white and then red, and then white and then red.
Oh, hang on. So let's read this. You're saying if the minutes is 0, so it's less than 60 seconds left, and the seconds is less than or equal to 10, and seconds is an even number. So even number, then make it white. So
set the text to white and the background to red.
Otherwise, in all other cases, just make
set it to black and white.
Black and white.
Pretty neat. And then here's the formatted time, so it shows the minutes and then seconds, making sure it's two digits. Even if you got like 1, it will show 01.
You're not doing that for the minutes though, right? So if it were to be, for example, 150 minutes, you would just say 150 colon the number of seconds.
Yeah, but like, which hackathon demo is going to be more than 150 minutes? I kind of took the point of one team gets like 100. Yeah, I was like, a demo is going to be no more than 10 minutes, right? Max. If it's even like, it's never going to be more than 20 minutes. So I kind of thought, I don't really need to worry about that too much. And then it just sets the text every time. So on tick. Oh yeah, this is really cool. Android has this built-in countdown timer library stuff. And then you have this on tick thing. So every time the countdown ticks, you just give it like, you say basically, I want you to tick every second. You say how long. And the limit was basically get the current time, turn it into milliseconds, and then like add the epoch. What?
Something like that. The limit equals...
Oh, sorry. Time.getTime was like the epoch, and then turn that into milliseconds because this took milliseconds. And then you basically
countdown timer is a built-in Android.
Yeah, I tried doing it manually with a text view. And then I realized that you could do it manually. I was like, this is way more efficient, because I had lots of issues with threading where it would just like slow down. It's still not the most performant thing in the world, but it's because it's like trying to do things every second. And then it just basically, this method would get run every 100 milliseconds, because that's the tick. And then on finish, it would then set it to white and then set the time to 0. So even though sometimes it wouldn't necessarily know what to do, the tick would stop, but it might stop on red. So this would then set it back to white. It's kind of like clean, actually. I don't think that's actually horrific.
That's a good little hackathon project, that.
Yeah, when I found out this countdown thing existed, where have I imported this? Yeah, android.os.countdown timer. Honestly, life changer. If you look back in the commit history, you'll see that I like tried doing it manually, and it like. And
is that like set interval in JavaScript?
Yeah, pretty much. I'm assuming so. You have to remember, I'm not a JavaScript guru.
Set interval you pass it a function and a length of time.
And it would just pretty much
running that function. Back when I learned Visual Basic, they had the same concept. It was just an element called a timer. So because it was visual, right, you would drag elements on. You literally had to drag a timer, like a little clock icon, out from the toolbar and drag it onto your application somewhere. And then you had this timer that existed as an abstract idea on the form.
Nice. So here's the way you do it. Here's the clock. It's literally just an element. You just say, give me a clock, and you say like hours, minutes, seconds.
Nice.
Oh, my camera died again.
Well done,
I can fix this. There you go. Ta-da!
I prefer this one.
Yeah. Let me turn the camera off so it can not. I need to look into this.
In flash time? Is that like a library or something?
Oh, basically one of the things you do in Android, I probably spelled it wrong, but you can make a dimensions folder under values, and you can just hard code all the dimensions. So you can be like, because the idea is that you hard code them in XML, and then especially for strings, because then you can get you can do translations in different languages quite easily. And if you refer to it in like several places, you can easily just update it in one place. Hackathons UK demo down. Lol. Yeah, and it's the same with styles, right? I think you can have a dark. I try dark theme. Yeah, that never happened because the dark theme obviously would mess up that countdown flashing. Because yeah, but. Yeah.
Set up the dark theme and you got no further.
Yeah.
Oh man, dude.
I actually rewrote this I did rewrite this in Flutter, and it sort of worked. Hang on, I will appear in a second. Bear with. There we go. Hey, yay.
Hello.
Yeah. So that is the countdown app.
Wow, thank you for sharing. I enjoyed using that. Not for the code, but for the fond memories I have of being at hackathons and getting teams to come up and present, and then you're trying to anxiously make sure they finish on time and get the next team ready. It's a good buzz.
I really enjoyed that. It was stressful, and you saw me many times at many hackathons running around looking stressed. But yeah, the reason I want to rewrite it in Flutter is that I can then deploy it to the web, and then I can give that, and I can just literally any computer go to countdowns.ws.uk, done. I wanted to make it so that people could just make their own countdown, and they could just like run their own. So they could just put like a name in and be like, I want this countdown to be this. Maybe add a password for controlling it. Prevent people being able to random people being able to turn up and be like, hey,
I was going to say,
I'm
if you
just
had
gonna countdown.
countdown.willrussell.com and that's the same URL and everyone could go on there and reset the timer, then
yeah,
I just think some hackers at live demos discover the URL and start messing with team timers.
Trying to think of what's a good project where it'd be like Pictionary, right? When we do Pictionary with Drawosaurus, you just have to type the password and sort of
just type in a simple word.
Yeah, I think my friend did it with signing with Google at first. Oh yeah, I remember that.
do it where you can have multiple timers, right? So you go on, you enter the word specific to your timer, like the name of the room or whatever on Pictionary.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like those drawing quiz things that you lecturers like to use, right? You'll go to a website or like Kahoot, something like that. Kahoot for the countdown.
Oh dear. Well, I think that's it for this wonderful stream. We did go over a little bit, but
I think it's a good natural break point. And, if we ever want to do this again, we've got plenty more terrible code.
Robbie and I are thinking of doing this again, potentially for some other, I don't know, we'll do some other weird things where Robbie and Will go on adventures through their old GitHub. If you do have any suggestions, let us know on Twitter, tweet at MLHacks. But I think that's all from us. My name is Will, this is Robbie, and we will talk to you all in the not too distant future. All right.
Brilliant. Been a pleasure. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.